Hey, Frank, how are you?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
Good. Frank, so a lot of meetings today. Don't know if you can ask you about each one. So is there some theme that you can take out of them? Is there something that you and Rob tried to get across that's consistent amongst all the meetings you had?
Yeah, I think there was a pretty consistent theme that our players believe in our approach and our process and our preparation and our way of doing things. What our culture is about, and a belief that we wanted to do better, battling through the adversity of the injuries that we dealt with. But at the end of the day, it was too much to overcome, and that we're hopeful to have another chance to bring it back with the same group next year.
And Frank, when you took the job, I know you spent some time thinking about, all right, offense and defense, and then that'll evolve once you've got Anthony Davis. Those two, I assume, still would be at the core of any kind of system, right, that you use moving forward. But did you pick anything up these last 2 years specifically that you want to bridge into next season and build upon?
You said those two, meaning?
Oh, sorry. So LeBron and AD, but as kind of the focal point. But just in terms of system, in terms of identity, defense, offense, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those two are going to be the core, and like I said, we'll see how the roster shapes up for next year. But we believe in the group that we had this year, and we'd love to have an opportunity to run it back at full strength. But obviously there's always going to be tweaks to the roster, so that stuff will play out throughout the course of the summer. But we have a system we believe in, and a process and a culture that we believe in. Obviously we want to be basically a great team on both sides of the ball. We had an excellent defensive year, and not good enough on the offensive side of the ball, especially when AD and Bron were out. And those are things that we'll look at improving in the offseason in terms of the way our offensive structure and framework, et cetera, personnel. And we all have the mindset that we're not happy with how the season ended, and we want to have a self-evaluation, look in the mirror, and see how we all can do better mindset to improve and be better next year.
Dave? Frank, Andre was the starter from the moment he arrived to you guys off the buyout market and then didn't play in Game 6. What can you tell us about that decision in particular? Obviously, we know that you have Mark and Trez. That's the obvious part of it. But and then looking back at the time you've had with Andre thus far, how much did you feel like you were able to accomplish with him, and how much, other levels you think you could reach to with him if there is more time in the future?
Yeah, well, Dre was great for us. Let me start by saying that. We're hopeful that he's a Laker for a long time. He really played well for us and was a good culture fit. It fit in well with the guys and was very well liked. It just we said it all along. We were concerned about how much time we would have to build the cohesion necessary to win in the playoffs. And with AD being out, and then Bron really getting only 2 games with Drum before the playoffs began, we just didn't have that time to build a cohesiveness that we wanted. And with our backs against the wall, our team struggling to score with AD out, we looked in another direction for offense, both with Mark starting to pull Ayton away from the basket. And, we've got a proven scorer in Montrezl Harrell that we decided to go to. But it wasn't by anything that, that Drum did wrong or anything like that. Just trying to open up our offense, give ourselves the best chance to win. And, we were hoping to my conversation with Drum was like, let's do what we feel like is best to survive this series and, continue to play out the vision that we have for you, going forward deep into the playoffs. But we weren't able to get past that Game 6.
Dan?
Hey, Frank, thanks for your patience with this process all season. Look forward to annoying you in person soon.
You're welcome.
Jason's name has come up in kind of some coaching rumors here over the last few months. What's it been like working with him these last few years? and I would assume you would strongly advocate for him if that's something he wants to do.
What's it been like? It's been wonderful. Jason's become one of my closest friends. Really a trusted advisor on my coaching staff, and someone that has just been integral to our success in the last 2 years. He should be at the top of everybody's list that has an opening in the NBA. Jason Kidd should be at the top of his list, top of their list. I think him taking the route of wanting to learn the steps of the assistant coaching role after going right from his playing career to a head coaching career, and really just rolling his sleeves up and focusing on the work the last 2 years has been great for his career. He's carried himself with a great deal of humility over the last 2 years, and I really think he's going to be in a different position of strength, with the next opportunity that he gets.
Frank, to follow up real quickly on that, were his assistant coach duties the same as anybody else's, in terms of scouts and all of that stuff? He just did all of that.
100%. Yep. Grinding the film work, put together scouting reports, did the pregame film, did the walkthroughs. Same as the other assistants, the other bench assistants.
Thanks, Frank.
Bill?
Hey, Frank. If I understood correctly, you originally signed a 3-year contract when you came here and obviously won a championship in your first year. But that would put you going into a contract year next year. I'm wondering if you and the Lakers have had any conversations about an extension, and if that is something that you are hopeful could get done before the start of next season. Is that important to get done? What's kind of the state of your situation moving forward?
Yeah, I really just prefer those conversations to remain private. I did sign a 3-year contract. I just completed year 2, and that's where it's at. Obviously I love it here. I love this organization, and hope to be a Laker for life. But all that stuff will play out in the right time, and those conversations will remain private.
Frank, you had this approach last year in the playoffs that worked really well, where 3 games in, 4 games in, if a starting lineup change needed to be made or a rotation change needed to be made, you would make it then. But you try to stay consistent with your groups. Do you feel like that approach had the same desired effect this year, especially as injuries kind of took root in your group?
I think it's a different scenario. I think Anthony Davis injury changed the series. I think what we did from game 1 to game 2, having the mindset to play with size up on Booker and Payne and Chris Paul, and by having a big up on them and Anthony on the backside, really created the environment necessary for us to beat the Phoenix Suns, hopefully, if things were to go well. And obviously that all changed when Anthony was out, and what was behind our bigs in terms of the presence defensively, and obviously the offensive problems that Anthony causes. So, I really think it's a different conversation than any playoff series we had last year, where we were dealing with the full deck and how to manage that.
Hey, Coach. Hoping that you can describe losing in other playoff series in the past and some of your other coaching experiences to losing this season, where you feel like you got the talent, feel like you have the roster, but there are things you just don't have control over, being, obviously the injuries. Can you just kind of compare some of the differences there? Of course, the series or the season ending yesterday is ultimately came down to what you guys couldn't really ever get going, which was getting healthy.
Yeah, if you're asking about my prior experiences, my teams in Indiana ultimately ended up, being ended by LeBron James and, their team down in Miami that was very good. So we felt disappointed we didn't get over that hump, but, felt good that we gave it our best shot. This situation this year is disappointing because the early nature of it. I feel like we had a team that, at full strength could compete for a championship. And I think Phoenix does too. You know what I mean? So this is one of those series in my mind that, felt like it should be played in the conference finals. To lose to that team, to me, there's no shame in that. They're a hell of a team, but to be matched up with them in the first round because of the nature of the long, lengthy absences in the regular season of Anthony and LeBron, that just puts the exit so much sooner and, makes it more disappointing.
Gilvan?
Hey Frank, how do you guys properly evaluate the roster and potential weaknesses or shortcomings you guys felt you had, given the context of the injuries and the fact that you guys weren't whole, so you weren't fully able to see what this group could have looked like if fully healthy?
Well, we just, evaluate the individual experiences of each player that we have. And, we rely on the vision of what we would have looked like at playoff time if we were full strength, the best sample size we have is the way we started the season. When Anthony went down, we were 21-6 and the second best record in the NBA. We feel like we have a team that can compete for a championship right now, as constructed. Does that mean we'll be back the same? Who knows? That's going to be up to the front office and to decide and where we end up landing with free agents and trades and whatnot. But we believe in the group that we have, and if we have the core of Anthony Davis and LeBron James healthy, we'll build the right supporting cast around those guys, and we'll have a chance to compete for a championship again next year.
More questions? Rashawn Taylor?
Hey, Coach. How similar was last night to Game 4 when AD went down, just in terms of just a deflating effect that it had on the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very different. Obviously, Game 4, we had supreme confidence, that we had taken control of the series, having won Game 2 and Game 3, and we're really looking to take a stranglehold on it and go up 3-1. Then Anthony goes down, and I think there was a bigger deflating effect in that game than last night. Last night, we really didn't know what to expect from Anthony. And honestly, a lot of us, well, I shouldn't speak for others, but I did not have high expectations. I know AD was going to be limited in his movement. I was hopeful that it would loosen up and, he would be himself. But, we weren't really sure what to expect, knowing that, he had a legitimate groin injury and it was going to be difficult for him to be moving. So, when he went down, there was no surprise. There was, we knew that was a possibility going into that game. That's different than what we experienced in Game 4.
Thanks.
Michael Duarte?
Yeah, Frank, two quick questions for you, both on the same topic. Jared Dudley said that you guys lack the basketball IQ, for a championship team in this series. So my first question for you is, when it comes to that and having that on the court, is that something that can be taught in the off season or something that guys can work on? He specifically mentioned, a guy like Rajon Rondo who had it and helped you guys win that championship in the bubble. Or is it more something that is innate, I guess, or something people just have?
Yeah, I think we had enough intelligence to win that series. We just fell short against a matchup that is against the second best team in the NBA. And we suffered some injuries that were out of our control, and didn't manage playing through those injuries well enough. But I don't think it was about IQ.
Okay, and then the second part to those injuries. In your meetings, and you're talking about what guys can work on in the off season ahead of next season, is ways to, and this is obviously, getting more time in the off season than what you guys had previously, but is things that they can do, and Jared mentioned diet, but, stretching, yoga, physical therapy, are there things you can do to try to make sure your guys stay on the court and there's less injuries next season, this off season?
Absolutely. Just making sure that, our guys have the right dietary plan, taking care of their bodies, strengthening their bodies, prevention, exercises. That's always the plan, for guys to improve, on top of skill development, improving their body and being in the best shape of their life is always the top goal for all of our players, and that will be the same this year.
Last question, Andy Kamenetsky.
Hey Frank, similar to what you talked about a little earlier with Jovan and just how disjointed the season was, the lack of cohesion. When you look back on the job you did this year and the decisions you made as you just evaluate yourself, how do you go about doing that, given the context of the season? Like, how difficult or even possible is it, just with all those factors?
As a coach, with pride, I always feel like we should win every game. You know what I mean? If you make every move right, it's going to play out the right way, and you're going to get that W. And, we didn't win enough games. We didn't win our playoff games, and handle the injuries and overcome them, which, it's not impossible. I mean, it's very difficult to overcome the injuries that we suffered, but not impossible. And, you always want to believe that there's something you could have done better. So you just evaluate those things, and that's always been a part of who I am as a coach. I always look internally before pointing fingers at my players or front office or the team or anything like that. That's just to me part of trying to be a winner and trying to be a leader of your team. If you look internally at the things you're doing, so that'll always be a part of me.